So got a Legendarian book in the mail this week.
Yeah, they finally started shipping out, which is good. We kind of fell victim to supply chain issues like everybody else. So we're talking to the distributor, and the distributor's saying the retailers have the books. We don't know what's going on. We don't know why they're not shipping. We're asking. Amazon was sort of the big culprit that had taken a ton of pre-orders and then just wasn't shipping, and then wasn't telling us why they weren't shipping, which was very frustrating. So, but yeah.
Well, I'm 5 pages in right now. I find I'll give you, it'll be 6 months from now, and I'll be like five, multiply 5 pages at a time over. I'm reading Tom's book, Nazali, and the endorsements were great, loved them, and I love how you started off the book. Hey, I'm Tom. I'm Tom, and I'm gonna tell you, like, from a, what would you call that? Is that first person? Yeah, from a first person, and then you're getting into. So I thought it was unique. So I guess since Amazon had a problem with some of the shipping, and we thought about pet peeves today. Pet peeves, tips in your industry. Shipping would be a pet peeve. Poor shipping would be a pet peeve, right? I guess it happens to everybody.
I mean, I guess that's I feel like it's indicative of a pet, like something that I think probably everybody has in like, a pet peeve across industries, right? Which is like just not living up to expectations, like not delivering on expectations, right? So like you place an order and your expectation is, and when people place the order, it specifically said the order will ship, like your order will ship on January 15th, which was when the pre-order and period ended and the books were supposed to ship, right? That was the date. And on Amazon, it said your book will ship on January 15th, right? And then it just didn't. And then they couldn't explain why. And that's one of the things that's really frustrating to me about dealing with a company like Amazon and the fact that they've kind of, in a lot of ways, Amazon is kind of too big for anybody's good at this point. Is that they don't feel any obligation to answer for situations like that. Like I'm just a very small author in the grand scheme of things. Like, first time author, don't have a track record of selling a lot of books or anything like that. So like, I get that, like, I don't rank in priority, but like when a distributor that you work with for a bunch of different authors, for a lot of different books that like ships thousands, if not tens of thousands of books through Amazon every year, right? If not more than that. I mean, I don't know how big their business is with Amazon and with their third-party retailers there, but at the end of the day, if they can't even get an answer out of Amazon, literally Amazon said yes, they acknowledged they had the books and then just wouldn't explain why they hadn't shipped them. And that was it. Like that was it. That was all they got. They opened a ticket. The ticket was never resolved. The ticket was never answered. And it's one of like a million stories like that I've heard, that basically somebody has a problem with some business dealing with Amazon. They open a complaint ticket or a problem ticket and it never, ever gets resolved. And they just don't get an answer from Amazon. And Amazon just keeps like, rolling along, like the boulder in the beginning of Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom, just coming down the ramp, unstoppable. And it doesn't really matter if anything gets in their way or people complain. They don't really care. They don't seem to mind. So that's one of my biggest frustrations is, right, like if somebody like literally sets expectations with you, says, here's what I'm going to give you, and then doesn't give you that thing, right? That's a big pet peeve for me. Don't tell me you're going to do something and then not do it, right? Like that is a great way to lose my business, to lose my trust, and to lose my business. One of the reasons why I was telling everybody, if you're going to order the book, don't order it from Amazon. I was telling everybody that from early on. I was saying order it from a different organization, order it, go to your local bookstore, walk in, ask them to order it. They can order it for you. But yeah, don't go through Amazon. I went through Amazon, or I put it up on Amazon because I knew that people were going to order it there regardless. But yeah, it's frustrating, but that's a big pet peeve. Don't set expectations and then not deliver on them. Right.
That's a good one. So annoying too. I'm dealing with somebody for some computer things, as we talked about weeks ago, and I'm willing to pay. We talked about it, and I'm not getting emails back or anything like that. So we decided in your industry some pet peeves that you see that might help some of us. So that's what we were thinking about, talking about. So some tips. You see a pet peeve, like I'm thinking, I read manuscripts all day, every day. I know a lot of times people have never printed out the manuscript and read it. So sometimes I will see the same 10 paragraphs later on in it. It's annoying. So I am seeing that whoever sent me it, clearly, one, they just wrote it and never reviewed it enough to know that they sent me that it has the same, like let's say it's paragraph 11 or chapter 11. Chapter 13 has 3/4 of the same information of chapter 11. So I know that they haven't read this. I find it annoying. And it just shows, like, I'm thinking, okay, if we're going to share these tips and things today, read. And I remember one time Tom said it was, and I've been trying to do this, like, let's say a social post, that before I put out the social post, because I'm trying to put out so much content all day long, every day, that Tom said, well, the least you can do is read it out loud before you put it out. And right when you're trying to put out, I live in this world where I can delete, I can edit, I can go back and edit, but the least I can do is one more step, is take it and reread it. So I read it out loud. So I got that one from you, Tom. So thank you. All right. So if anybody wants to play, we'll go John Jay, something in your industry, podcasting, that maybe because you've seen it 1,000 times, if you were willing to be so nice and share that with us, we might not make the same mistake. What do you got for us, John Jay?
The number one is actually two. One is the onslaught that never ends of the "I'm a professional podcast promoter" scam. They are scam artists. They deliver bots. It's just not worth it. And if they're truly professional, I always say this: you would contact me very professional, legitimate means, not messaging Facebook or social media. Number two, you wouldn't need to call yourself professional. All right, end of story. If you got to call yourself that, you're not. The other one is publicists that just blanket shotgun approach emails. So and so will be a great guest on your show. They've written this book. They want to talk about this book. And that's all they do, and like, you obviously have no idea what the show's about. So that'd be the only two things. Most other things, there's a lot of things I can find irritating. But to be honest with you, when I get my attention focused on what I perceive, and I'm not saying it's not right, but what I perceive to be not right in the world, I take the focus off of things I can do something about, which usually is me and my approach. When people or companies do things that I find irritating, best me to move on. So the two that are the professional podcast promoters and publicists, that's the two.
Thank you, John. So don't call yourself professional. You don't need to say that you are a professional.
They're scammers. They're scammers.
That's fair, man. Okay, Julie Loken, you want to play the game? Something in your industry that could help the rest of us, but you see it so many times and it drives you crazy. What is it?
Liars, especially publishers that will charge $50,000 to publish a book on KDP, and it's terrible. So, I think the vanity press even more drives me crazy. Thank you. You're welcome. Have a great day.
There you go, Julie. How do we avoid it?
Well, you ask the questions. You have someone that knows stuff about the publishing industry to avoid the vanity press, what the vanity press does, they usually hijack your book and you end up having to pay for your book, and you have no rights to it. And you think, because you're a newbie and you want to write a book, you think, oh my gosh, someone's publishing my book. Oh no, it's really not publishing your book. They're just doing all the things to control your book and extort you. Yes, that is a pet peeve of mine.
Right on, Julie. I spend a lot of days reading contracts of other publishers, so I'm familiar with a lot of them. And so sometimes people will see a price and not know that that publisher is getting, there's no commissions on the first 500 books. Okay, well, if you were making $5, $6, $3, $10 on 500 books, well, that's $4,000, or you're buying the books off them directly and they're jacking up the price to, they'll say, oh, you get 25% off the price of the book when you buy them.
Yes, I hate that.
And then you look, and that's a big scam, because it could be 25% off the retail price, and now you're buying a book that should be $5 or $6 or $3 for $15. It's ridiculous. So there's so many little angles. I just came across a children's book, our children's book author the other day, and she had 3 proposals. And one of the proposals said, and think about this before I even ask, I'm going to paint this. How many, think in your head, don't give an answer. How many pictures are usually in a children's book? Okay, you think about that, each of you in your heads. So the publisher, their package said she got 10 pictures in her book. And that was what the fee was based on. Now, just a guess, John, how many pictures you think are in a children's book? Usually, any? Go on,
I'd
Brian.
say
What do
probably
you got?
20.
Okay, 20's fair. Brian, what do you got?
I was going to say 15.
Okay, I'm going to go higher.
I'm
and
at
say,
50.
okay, Julie, 50. I would say about 30 would be average, because you got the front covers too, interiors with your titles on them and stuff. Now you could price the covers and stuff differently, but what we know, and this is what I said to the author, what we know clear as day is 10 is not the right number. I mean, it might not be 50, it might not be 30. We know it isn't 10. There is no book with 10 pictures. That is pretty weak. So they're just going to jack up her price later on and give her a low upfront price. Okay, moving on. See, things I'm agitated about. Tom, so we go back and forth before we go to JC. Any you want to throw out? We'll keep it moving.
This is outside of my realm of expertise. I've got a book. I am not a publisher of books. All I know is I own the rights to my book.
There you go. Spot on. Good idea. Okay, so JC, you could jump in on that, or in any of your areas of expertise. Like, I was thinking about this with Carrie, because Carrie takes these awesome photographs, and I would think that so many of us are doing things wrong that she probably sees every day and like, nope. So what do you got, Dragon?
Well, great morning to all of you guys. Excited to see you real soon. Every day that goes by, I'm like, to find out if these people are real. Anyway, so yeah, I actually I have a new podcast coming out, in one of the episodes, and I probably would need to credit this room for putting the idea in my head, but the podcast is about making sense of things, and one of the topics was pet peeves. So I love this topic. So as usual, I just like to look at the other side of things. So let's pick like coaching, whether it's health coaching, personal growth, life coaching, or whatever, any form of coaching. The natural pet peeve that coaches would have would be something in the realm of, how people don't follow through. Clients are indecisive and apprehensive and start and stop and complain or whatever. So those would be like the natural pet peeves. But the pet peeve that I like to focus on, and this could relate to any of your businesses, is just the other side of a pet peeve. What's interesting is, if you have a pet peeve, just like the ones that you guys are talking about, it's interesting to recognize that there's the pet peeve about on the other side about you. So I'll give you an example. Like, if a coach is frustrated and their pet peeve is that a client like says they're going to do something or doesn't, or does and then quits. the pet peeve of the client is that they're being pushed and bullied or rushed. So it's just an interesting thing to do. If you're going to focus on pet peeves, it's always a good idea to just get curious about the other side of it. And sometimes you'll find out that you, in fact, are a pet peeve of somebody else. So what's the solution to this? There's a great headspace that everybody can be in. And some of you guys are really good at this. I call it autonomy supportive business or communication. And what that means is to just be in the practice of not trying to be perfect, but be in the practice of getting a better understanding of the wants and needs of the person that you're working with, to know, how to walk beside them, not push them from behind, pull them from, the back, and then you'll create a better relationship for the client. So I don't know if that lands with you guys, but it's just interesting, this concept of pet peeves. You think that you know what the pet peeve is, but you'll be shocked to find out that you, in fact, are someone else's pet peeve.
JC, I promise you, I am probably a lot of people's pet peeve. I want to look up
You're
the
not
term.
mine, though, John. You're
Yeah,
not
I want to look up the term pet peeve. I guess I guess another way to spin this is each of you have a very unique skill set. You're in an industry that you are an expert in. So in your industry that you are an expert in, is there something that clearly people don't know that you could help them not make a fool of themselves? So I'm writing something right now, screenplay, and it has montages in it. And now I'm concerned about number of montages. And I want to know before I put, I'm like, okay, you could put a montage here. It'd be a good place for it. They would think it would, take me it would move story forward from where I need to do. But I really want to look at some other stuff and say, well, can you have multiple montages, or is somebody going to look at that and say, that is rookie shit and you shouldn't have done that? And so is there something in whoever's industry so how's that, JC? Is that clear it up in here?
Yeah. So in to answer your question, I would say my pet peeve would be that coaches don't take the time to better understand their client and get frustrated with them. You could eliminate that, and you could do this in any industry. You could eliminate that by spending time, more time getting to know your client, not only what their demand is, but what their unique demand is and how to serve them. It's like when you go to, I always teach the people that I work with, I always teach them, like when I go to a restaurant and I sit down, the waiter doesn't come up and say, hi, you'll be having the fish. The waiter comes up and says, hi, how can I help you? And sometimes I say, I'm not ready yet. And I look at a menu and he doesn't come up and say, I recommend this. I don't like when they do that. I like when they say, what are you in the mood for? So that's what I'm saying. Autonomy supportive. That's my pet peeve is that in business, and this is what pisses you guys off about these people that are, scamming people and everything like that. Their business models to take advantage of the weaknesses of people, and that's what we hate about it, right? But there's two sides to it, So that's why I'm not advocating for scammers, guys. But I'm just advocating for people understanding that there's two sides to every coin. That's all.
I get that, JC, and I'm with you. I'm with you totally. I mean, I've said, Dom can attest to how many times he's heard me say this before, that I know I am not everyone's cup of tea, and I am completely okay with that. And I think that's an important thing for people to be to accept. Right? If you're going to be confident and comfortable in the way you present yourself, you have to accept that not everyone is going to love everything you do or say, right? And some people are genuinely not going to like you, and you have to be okay with it, right? So you have to accept that you're not everybody's cup of tea. So I 100% agree with that.
You know what? I think we should just have shirts made that say, I'm a pet peeve and I'm okay with it.
Right?
That's a good shirt. That's a
Right?
good shirt, JC. Do that.
Right?
You have the right. Go on, Tom.
Pet me, I'm a peeve. Or does that get weird? Anyway, Yeah. So here's mine. I hadn't shared mine yet. So this one really kind of drives me nuts, and it comes from two places, I think. One is a place of ignorance that I'm a little bit more forgiving of. The other is a place of laziness that I'm much less forgiving of. And it's this: whenever I see videos, and these are often live on people's websites, but sometimes they also live on social media and on other platforms where they really, really don't belong. Whenever I see video content from businesses or brands that is entirely focused on what the brand does, right? Entirely focused on what the brand does. And it drives me absolutely nuts. Here's why. It drives me nuts, and this is why I say it comes from two places, like one of laziness and one of ignorance. If you're a content creator, if you're a video producer, and you create a piece of content for a client that is wholly focused on what that client does, and then put that out as a sort of marketing piece of content, you're not serving the client, right? Because at the end of the day, that doesn't do anything to actually help build a relationship for that organization with the customers that they seek to serve, because they're making a lot of assumptions. And the biggest assumption they're making with that piece of content is that the person who's watching it cares as much about the business as the person who paid to have it made, right? And the truth of the matter is that nobody loves your baby as much as you love your baby, right? Nobody cares about what you do as much as you care about what you do, right? Even your clients, they don't care about what you do as much as you care about what you do. There's a reason that they pay you to do it and they don't do it themselves, and that's because they don't care as much as you do, right? So you have to accept that other people aren't going to care as much as you. And the reason I say it comes from a place of laziness or a place of ignorance is if you're ignorant to that fact, that as a content creator, as a professional communicator, if you're creating video content as a production company for organizations, you should do a better job serving them, right? And provide them with communications that are actually valuable to them, that actually accomplish what they want to accomplish, right? And so when somebody comes to you and says, I want to create a video and this is what I want it to say, if you're good at your job, you should push back and you should say, actually, I think it'd be better if we do this, and here's why. And you should be able to make a case for why it's better to do it that way. Now, I agree they're not always gonna do it, but most of the time, or in my experience, most of the time, organizations will defer to your expertise, right? So it comes from laziness because you're not willing to do that. You'd rather just take the paycheck and do what they're asking you to do and provide the production service and walk away and cash the check. Or it comes from ignorance in that you're not, you haven't educated yourself about your profession enough that you don't understand that what you should actually be doing, right? So you're putting yourself out as a professional when you're not actually acting like the professional you should be. So that's a big sort of pet peeve of mine. It's a point of frustration, and something that really sort of like I think could be fixed relatively easily with just a little bit better education and understanding, both on the sort of content creator side and on the customer side. But yeah, that's mine, right? So it's really like a point of frustration. And when it comes out of laziness, when you're just there to cash the check and you're not going to actually serve your client, well, then I don't really think much of you as a business, right? If you're just there for the paycheck, then what are you doing? What do you think, Tom?
Well said, Tom. I hope we don't have too many people there that are just ripping and tearing through. Yeah, I always look at that as short-term success. Short-term success never is. Like you do whatever gimmicks and tricks and hacks that you use to get that quick client, the get rich. I'm going to change your world in 3 hours and charge you $5,000 or 10 or 20, and it doesn't. Well, that client's never going to deal with you long term. So you got a quick sell, but at the end of the day, it's going to take a lot longer to build your business. Mr. Swift, Brian P. Swift, in your industry, something you see people doing that you think needs changed, or you would say, hey, do it this way, and it might help the rest of us not step incorrectly along our journey.
Sure. Good morning. Well, kind of like John said, people that claim to be these experts at promoting that really aren't, and the term expert is vague. I think especially now everybody can hang up a shingle saying that, they're expert at promoting, they're expert at, doing this and doing that, because of the world we live in now. So people who talk about being the expert, and like John said, they come at you from a non-professional way, maybe, or just in a spamming way. The other thing is, and this applies to probably all of our industries and our lives, people who offer to help and then don't show up when you need them. And I get that a lot in the nonprofit industry. People that are always offering, and I think people do have good intentions. Ultimately, I think people do want to be helpful. People do want to be a part of something bigger than them. But I would rather people not offer to help in any way, in any industry, whether it's, help you start your podcast, help you promote it, help you grow your whatever it may be, don't offer. I'd rather have them not offer than offer and then, all of a sudden go ghost on you. But I think you see that in not just our businesses, but in life in general. I just tend to maybe see it a little bit more because of part of what I do is with the nonprofit. And Dom, you may see that too. You do a lot of work helping others, and what you do is you just need some man hours and woman hours to collect and distribute and organize, and the people you feed, the turkeys you give out. If you want to be counted on, then put yourself out there and be counted on and follow up. I'm complete.
Well done, Mr. Brian P. Swift. And I can't wait to see Brian P. Swift again on next week, Creative Con. So Brian's going to be there. Dragon's going to be there. Lauren, Julie, John, Tom. So if you can, 17th and 18th in Chicago, the first Creative Con, get there. Brian's going to be up on that stage. Okay, Mr. Tom, what did you want to add there? Go on.
I'm good, unless you want to jump to that question that I mentioned.
Yeah. We got online questions too, and we're streaming. Tom, tell them where we're streaming, and then go to your online.
I think it's actually been a little bit since we mentioned this, right? But we stream this all over the internet, right? So we're live right now on YouTube, Facebook, the platform formerly known as Twitter, Twitch, LinkedIn. We're live all over the place. We're live on the internet, and of course right here in the clubhouse room. My buddy Chris down in Savannah, Georgia, posted a couple of questions. He's a behaviorist in the canine industry. Specifically works with folks who have problem dogs. And one of the things that he's running into is he's having a really hard time marketing what he does, right? And it's because he offers behavior-based sort of results and not sort of a clear, numerical result, right? So like the results he gets are sort of more subtle or harder to sort of, tease out. Basically, the results he gets are your dog stops biting people, including maybe you, right? So like it's obvious when your dog stops biting you, but like the thing that he's really struggling with is how do you market, how do you market business or services that don't fall into the sort of traditional results driven categories for folks, like especially when in his case a lot of times the clients are the problem, right? So this might be one for JC. This is probably something you've come up against as a coach, or other coaches in the room have come up against, is that a lot of times people are their own worst enemy, right? A lot of times they're the ones holding themselves back from accomplishing what they want to accomplish through kind of their own behavior, whether they realize it or not. And I think, a lot of times for Chris, it's similar in that, the owners of the dogs are the reason why the dogs have behavior problems, right? The dogs don't just kind of create them on their own. And his industry sort of markets quick fixes and quick results. And he has a hard time sort of marketing his longer term, but better strategy or program. So I wanted to throw that out to the room, kind of see what you guys think, hear what some of the experts in the space have to say about how you deal with sort of getting those kinds of results out to, or getting those, marketing those sorts of services to people. So curious to hear what you guys think. Any coaches in the room want to jump into that? Brian Swift, right away.
Yeah, and the only reason I probably can relate is in the service dog industry. So, I'm talking true service dogs, not help me feel better dogs, or I'm talking dogs that have been trained to be a legit 100% service dog, where they provide, essential direct needs for that person's ability or disability. It's hard because they are promising that this animal will do these things, and you really can't. You don't know. The best way is that's an industry where you really have to go out and talk to people who have had dogs from them, and get people's recommendations. And I think the best way to promote that is through, getting people's recommendations and putting them out there, getting, video testimonials, because it is a tough industry. And I've seen it in it, like I said, in the service dog arena, where people, say they know how to train a dog, but they use a certain method that really isn't advantageous or beneficial for the person who's going to utilize that dog. They don't even get into a deep dive on how you need to use it. Maybe you have MS and you walk with canes, and you need a dog that, you can lean on in case you fall, or help you get up. Or, it's so specific. They don't even ask you the questions about how you're going to utilize the dog. But they say they train them for anybody and everybody. And you just can't train a generic dog for anybody and everybody, because they're supposed to have specific needs. Like a dog needs to have really strong hips if you're going to rely on it to put your weight on to help you stand up. I don't need that. I don't need a dog with good hips, because I'm not using them to get off the ground. So these people are out there training them and not asking specific questions. But the ones that the people that are good at it, they do a deep dive. And I think somebody mentioned this. They do a deep dive into who you are, and how you're going to use the dog. And like I said, the couple places that I know do an awesome job, people are talking about how awesome of a job they're doing, and you can get referrals. If you don't find those out there, then you got to question how good of a job are they doing. I'm complete.
I'll jump in very quickly.
Go on, John.
Well, there's a principle that we do with radio advertising sales. It's called selling air. You don't have a tangible product. So what you have to do is create the need. You have to explain the need and how you address that need. And part of that procedure is giving people a little bit of information. And I'm going to use this is not a negative. Creative Con's Facebook page is an exact example of, it's not routinely posted on there. And it's not, with the exception of the last post, which is 3 days ago, there's nothing in there about what's offering for the consumer. It's a pitch, sell. So if you're selling air, the first thing you have to do is you have to create the need and understand what the need of your consumer is, then address the values you offer, then go into pricing. And the one thing we don't do, for example, with dogs, is tell people, we all know that the vast majority of problems with dogs are the owners, not the dogs, because people treat their dogs like humans, and the dogs treat them like dogs. That's what they do. But if you tell people that they're wrong, they're the problem, that's the first thing in your mouth, you're going to have a really tough time. Instead of saying, what are the common things that this person has all the time from most of his customers, and address a little bit and saying, we can resolve this. We can handle that need. Here's something you can try at home. And you give them about a quarter of the information. So you establish a need, you build the value, and you give them a little bit of information they can use. Some will use it and never contact you. Others will contact you and become clients.
Love it, John. Thank you. It's just good stuff all around. I hear you on the Brian with the testimonial thing too. That's basically what he's summing it up to. I wonder if I was in LA and I saw this billboard and it was like a dog, a mean dog, and it was for lawyers, and it was like, if this dog bites you, we're the people for you. And I was like, huh, that's clear as day. So I wonder, could there be some messaging like that the owners are worried about? Like a dog walked down through my yard one day and my dog bit it. Well, I know my dog hates other dogs, so could he speak to a problem that I already have? That is, a dog came up to my house on Halloween and my dog ran out of the front door and bit the dog, my dog hates dogs. Can you help me with a problem that I have? Identify a problem that these people have, clear as day. And whether you're showing it in a little video that is, video doesn't have to be like, it could be like those Red Bull type videos where they're characters and things like that, little doodles walking around. I wonder if you could do something like that. Probably AI based videos that aren't necessarily you or the testimonial, just little people walking down the street, dog runs out and bites, you don't want this. I help change that behavior, then you have a happy smiling family. So I think JC, did you flash off there? Then we're going to get to Lauren.
Yeah, I just want to add a little color to what everybody else has said. It's funny that Brian was talking about dogs, because the idea that Tom mentioned about the problem typically lies in people being in their own way. A great analogy is, if you look at somebody as the dog, is the dog wagging the tail or is the tail wagging the dog? So what's interesting is, and now I think I know what my true pet peeve is, because you guys just brought it to the light. What my pet peeve is probably very similar to you. If you look at like personal growth in general, even Tony Robbins, is he a master and has he helped people? Sure. But the business model of personal growth, and a lot of these business models that we're frustrated with, they're not there to actually get results. If you think about it, right? Those massive, business models are there to make people feel better about their problem. But it's a business, right? See, the problem is the consumer doesn't know that they're not actually going to go somewhere, but they end up liking it because they feel better, like they have a big breakthrough or a distinction. And it's one of the reasons that I'm excited about Creative Con and my hopes for Creative Con. And that's great that John, has that insight to recognize it. We can always level up our game. But I like the idea of making people feel better, like serving that. People are going to come to Creative Con. They're going to be in fellowship, collaboration. They're going to learn things. They're going to feel like, wow, I know a lot of stuff. But my hope for Creative Con, if I have anything to say about it, is it's not just going to be a jacuzzi experience. We're not just trying to sell an experience. We're actually going to make it very, very clear what to do with that experience. And that's what I'm frustrated with, is these services that are obviously out there, not to help people grow, but just to make them feel better. So that's my pet peeve. That's what I hate about those things, because you don't have to do something on a massive scale. If you can help 100 people like actually measurably grow, then you'll be extremely successful.
Yeah, I think I think you're right, JC, and I think actually you'd get along with with Chris, because he's this buddy of mine, Chris, that kind of started this whole conversation. He's very much kind of focused in the same way as what you were just talking about, with very focused on results in terms of, really helping the dog. And he tells people it's gonna be uncomfortable, right? The process of getting to where you want to be is going to be uncomfortable. And he tells people all the time to embrace the suck, right?
Well, that's why, because of that. See, that's the key right there. The reason why people will forego the actual service that gets them results is traditionally it requires work and it's expensive and it will be uncomfortable. So all these other things are like, hey, you don't even have to get out of freaking bed. Just give me $50 and I'll get you some followers or something like that. That's a very, very attractive. It's like weight loss drugs right now. How about I stick a shot in your leg and you just stop eating, right? Even though it's completely irrational, it's serving that immediate acute need, but nothing ever changes. That's my pet peeve. Yeah.
Yeah, totally understand. Totally. Dom, can you take this for a second? I got somebody knocking on my door.
I hear Tom's got
I'll be
dogs
right back.
barking and stuff like that. Okay, go on. So, hey, for all of you, Tom's picking me up on the way to Creative Con next week, and he's staying at my house on Valentine's Day. We talked about that. So I got 3 options for him. One, he says he's never been to Pittsburgh, so I take him to the city of Pittsburgh, but I don't know if he's going to want to drive. I give him my tour. We'll look at everything from the mountains, from the
Get him the sandwich with everything on it. What's that place?
Permanis. So I was thinking about that, John. And
it's got French fries and coleslaw and everything on it.
Yeah. If we went, we would go into the city and go into Permanis. Or
they got a place in Fort Lauderdale.
It's good stuff, man. Or I go the other way because I live about 40 minutes from downtown. 40 minutes the other way is the mountains. Tom likes outdoors and things like that. I could take him to see waterfalls and that. Or we just stay at my house and drink cigars. So drink and smoke cigars. So what do you guys
spoon.
think?
I'm thinking you guys are going to be spooning.
Yeah, spoon and fork. You're right, Jolie. So before he comes back, what do you think I should, which way you think I should lean? But I'm going to ask him.
The sandwich is spooning.
Sandwich and spoon. Sandwich. So a little bit of sandwich and a little bit of Julie spooning. That's a 1 and 2. Okay, got interested. All right, so let's continue. Go on, Brian. What do you got?
Dom did the sandwich thing on me. No spooning though.
Yeah, you see. So when Brian came right into my hometown, and we did go to Permanis and hung out in the middle of the room. So no sandwich, no spoon. Okay. Anybody else? Nobody cares. Okay, we'll ask Tom when he comes back. Okay, Lauren. So what we're trying to talk about here, and we get off path and we get off track a little bit. And just so anybody knows, we typically go left to right based on what I see on the screen. And then if anybody flashes, because they're an expert in the area, so we double back if, let's say, we're talking about radio and John says, hey, I got this idea of radio, or Tom says, hey, this, or Julie, it has to do with this. So we will jump back at times. If anybody ever wonders why the flow of the room is what it is, we go from left to right unless somebody flashes and they have, oh, I'm really good at this and I wanted to add this. So that's why at times we'll jump back. So Tom, we're about to get ready to go to Lauren here, but while you were away, we have when you come to visit me in a week, we're driving to Creative Con. So I don't know how tired you're going to be. So if you got 3 options of what we do when you get here. 1, we could go into the city, you get the full tour of Pittsburgh, the city of Pittsburgh, and we think John Jay says maybe we should eat Permani sandwiches with coleslaw and famous Pittsburgh sandwich. On the other hand, we could go, since I live about 45 minutes from the city, I also live 45 minutes from the mountains. We could go up to the mountains, hike, see waterfalls, and have that kind of experience. Or we could you might be tired from driving. We could hang out at my house, go get some tacos or something like that, and smoke cigars and drink. So you have the 3 options that you can think about them. You can give us thought on it, whatever.
Okay. So I got 2 things. One, I want to jump back because I was about to chime in with something before my dog, Batman, lost his mind. It was the UPS guy was just dropping a package and he just knocked on the door for some reason. I don't know why. He didn't need a signature, but he decided to knock on the door when he dropped the package. That made the dogs completely lose their minds. And once one goes, then the rest of them go. Anybody who has multiple dogs probably can relate to that experience. But anyway, what I was going to say was just to kind of round out my thoughts on Chris's thing and what Dragon was talking about as well was what I think would be incredibly valuable for Chris is to do testimonials. But I think when you do testimonials, reach out to past clients. And Chris, I know you've got a ton of past clients. I would say reach out to past clients, get those testimonials. And when you get those testimonials, I think you should give them sort of a couple of questions to answer in those testimonials, right? So give them sort of like, answer these questions for me in your testimonial. And I think one of those questions should be like, at the beginning, how difficult was it, right? Because that's one of the hurdles that's difficult for Chris's clients to get over. And one of the things that's hard to get people to sign up for services is the beginning does suck for them. So how hard was it in the beginning, but then how worth it was it in hindsight, right? So draw that line for them. Let them know that it's going to be rough to start. Be transparent about it. Be authentic, right? It's going to be tough to start, but in the end, that difficulty is going to be so worth it that you'll look back on it and laugh about that ever keeping you from going through this process that ultimately, saved your dog, really, because ultimately dogs that routinely, regularly bite people end up getting put to sleep, right? Like, let's be honest, that's what happens. So I think in that situation, that's what you do, is you kind of help them see that process, help them see through other people's eyes, give them that social proof so that they'll be able to see like, okay, yes, I can sign up for this, or I should sign up for this because it's going to suck, but in the end, it's going to save my dog's life, right? And that's worth it, right? A little bit of pain, a little bit of difficulty is worth it now so that this animal that I really care about is going to live a long, happy life. So that's what I wanted to say to sort of wrap up on Chris's point. Now, going to the conversation about what we should do when I get to Pittsburgh, my initial answer is, and I kind of, I don't like, or maybe correct me if I'm wrong, but the way you presented it, it seems like it's like, here's A, B, or C, but you can only have one, right? Here's what I would like to have. I would like to have sort of A and C, right? If I could. So I'd like to get like the tour of Pittsburgh, maybe go have a sandwich at Primanti Brothers, right? Like, because I know what Primanti Brothers is, right? I know about the coleslaw and the fries, right? I don't know, is that same woman that was famous for like being the head sandwich maker or whatever, is she still there to this day?
Sean Flash, Sean, do you have an answer about sandwiches and Primanti's right now? That was the answer. Go on. Nope. Okay.
No.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay.
All right. Yeah. We're coming around.
Okay.
No, I don't know. And there's multiple Primanti's too in the city. So
right. That original one is down by sort of like an industrial area, right? Because the whole idea was it was where truckers used to go in, and they started making the sandwiches with the coleslaw and the fries on the sandwich so you could eat it while you were driving a truck, right?
Whole meal at once. Yeah, you got it.
Whole meal all at once, right? Whole meal you could hold in your hand. So I say yes to the tour of Pittsburgh because I haven't been to Pittsburgh. So yes to the tour of Pittsburgh and the Primanti Brothers sandwich, but then also yes, ending by like hanging out at the house in the evening, smoking a cigar and maybe having a drink. So like that's what I'm saying. Like that's the, can I pick two of the above?
Yeah, as long as
option?
you're not, I just worry that as long as you're not all weary and tired, then we can make it happen.
Dom did offer a third, maybe it's a fourth thing. He did offer to spoon and fork. So
that was Julie wanted us to spoon and fork, but you're right, Brian. That was so also Tom, high on the list.
That might just be the icing on top of the cigar and bourbon. I don't know what that means in Pittsburgh, but he did throw it out there.
So I remember having a conversation about spooning. I don't remember forking, and the word fork is one, a couple letters different, but very similar phonetically to another word.
All right. We're moving on here.
and I think, I don't think there was ever any talk about spooning and forking, because that sounds like something else.
That just sounds weird.
So I would say let's then end the night with the cigar and the whiskey.
All right, that sounds like a good plan. All right, I'm moving on. There, wait, off the rails. Okay, not the smartest guys in the room. 1021. Lauren, what's up, our friend? We're going to meet Lauren in Chicago. Lauren, in your industry, a tip, something you see, a common mistake that you are seeing that maybe we could, that just by, like, I want something I was thinking about is I see people making videos and cutting half their head off, the top of the head. Well, turn the video, like I'm talking about a reel or a TikTok or something like that, and half their head's cut off. Just turn the camera the other way or hold it different. Why are you cutting half of your head off? I find it annoying, but that's something, turn it the other way. Just make sure your head's not half cut off. So what do you got for us, Lauren?
Hey, everyone. Happy Wednesday. So I work in the book space, and one thing that I notice a lot, and it's not really through any fault of their own, is writers not knowing what they don't know when it comes to the book business. And I'm not blaming them for that, but I am more commenting on like the opaqueness of the book business, like in general. Because I feel like there's a whole lot of resources out there around like how to write a book. Everyone's got all these like golden nuggets of wisdom to share, like, special tips and tricks for how to strike the right note or whatever in their writing. But I don't feel like I hear or see as much of that in the publishing space, which is what all writers are gunning for. So I, at least on my end, I've built my whole brand around this, and I try to educate people on what it is that they don't know, because I see that it's such a needed, it's so needed in the book space, and I just don't really see anyone talking about it. And I know that that's a space because I was in that myself for 5 years trying to get my own book off the ground. And through a combination of my own personal experiences on my own authorship journey and working in the book marketing space, I'm able to combine personal and professional knowledge to hopefully create strategic guidance for people on maybe what they don't know in the world of books, especially when it comes to their own. So that's my thing, just my 2 cents. But yeah, just honestly, just creating more transparency around the book business. That's my 2 cents.
Thank you, Lauren, and thank you for getting us back on track as well. Well done. That is a check mark to the good for Lauren. Go on, Tom.
Are you trying to imply that I took us off track?
I didn't say that. I didn't say that.
I feel like that was the implication, which is totally fair. It's totally fair.
Well, I guess I did ask the question as soon as you left. I'm like, what should we do? So, all right, Billy, in your industry, something that maybe, and I like John Jay, you mentioned about that website. Yeah, you know that there's multiple, or on that one page. Yeah, we do have a page. We run certain things from a group. The group is more interactive, right? The page was actually started to boost ads on, because you can't boost from a group and things like that. You 100% hit what is going on the page, 100%. So it's fair. So anybody, if there's something we are doing or somebody's doing that you see, Billy, and you give them a little bit of feedback that helps them from going down the wrong path. I start asking him a question and he goes, what the heck? He just didn't like the way I was phrasing it. Okay, Sean, you're up. In your industry, a tip that can help us from making mistakes that could derail us. What do you got?
Thanks, Dominic. This is a great question. And I sort of have 3 areas, so I'll give 3 quick answers. To Lauren's point, when we are doing audiobooks for authors, the authors grossly underestimate the effort it takes to record an audiobook, especially if it's a self-recorded and we're not hiring somebody to do it. And they think they can just rattle off the book quickly, when in reality, it takes at least 4 to 8 weeks to do it, and they have to pace themselves and get the energy up. And so that's one thing. Authors underestimating the effort and energy it takes to record their audiobook. In the music realm, when I'm getting songs to mix and master, most indie artists underestimate the treatment of their room, and more often than not, all the music I get, it always has too much bass or too much highs in it because the musician hasn't considered how their room sounds, and it's all about having it translate on different mediums. And thirdly, when we talk about podcasting, most podcasters just underestimate the effect of the room on their recording, and they don't know what they don't know, much like Lauren was saying, and getting the right microphone for the room.
That makes sense. I think, Sean, that's one thing. I'm going to record the audio book for Legendeering here coming up soon, so I can get that out as well and make that available to folks. But I know that it's going to take a while and it's going to be a process to do. And I know it's going to take some time. I actually just want to share a quick tip for anybody who's looking to record their own audiobook. This is not something I've done, so I'm sharing a tip. It's untested, but it sounded great. I talked to somebody else who is does audiobook recordings professionally as a voiceover artist, and they thought it was a great idea. And what it was to go to your local pet store. We're back on dogs a little bit here, but go to your local pet store. The click trainers that they have, and Chris hates these, by the way. I know he does. But the click trainers they have those stupid little things that make a click noise. Well, that click noise is going to create a spike in your waveform for the audio when you're recording a book. So every time, as you're reading through, what's going to end up happening is you're going to end up reading through and you're going to end up doing the same sentence 3 times, right? To try to get a good take of that sentence. And so every time you redo that sentence, so like take one, like if you have to do it again, you hit 1 click. And then if you have to do it again a second time, you hit 2 clicks and then 3 clicks, right? And those spikes let you know what take of that sentence you're on. As you're just going through the waveform, you can just go to that spike, because wherever you see one of those spikes, there's going to be an edit coming up, right? So you can kind of jump through and sort of streamline your editing process as you're creating those audiobooks by creating those spikes in the waveform that are visually really easy to see. So just a thought that I wanted to share, a tip that I wanted to share, something that I'm going to do when I record the audiobook for Legendeering, just to help streamline that process. What do you think of that, Sean?
A funny story about that, Tom. So that is great if you are editing it yourself. And I had one client who was an author do that, and we immediately told them, don't do that anymore, because when we're going through it, we're basically trying to edit out the clicks and then we're finding it. But what we do is we have the text and it follows along the audio. So when there are doubles up or doing other takes, we just chop it out and take the best take. So it was actually taking longer because of the clicks were getting in the way when we were doing it. But if you're doing it yourself, completely agree, because the visual is going to help you edit it quicker. What we're doing is we're used to editing, and so it was actually sort of getting in the way. But completely agree with you. If you're doing your own editing, it's a great visual when you see those spikes and you can go, okay. And I particularly love the part about, take one click, take 2, click type of thing. What a lot of authors do, if they're doing it quickly, is they'll just stop and rewind and punch in, and it will get rid of that need for the click. But everyone works differently. So it's definitely a great point. And I think the other thing is, when you are recording and doing these voiceovers for these audiobooks, the really big thing is to have a space that's dedicated to the recording and that it's repeatable. We just usually set the author up with a great mic, and then we put them in a closet and we set them up and we just have them leave the setup there. So, they're excited on Saturday morning here to let me knock off a chapter. But the important thing, because it takes so long, is to have that space consistent and repeatable. I mean, when we get different recordings, they'll be a teeny bit different and we can match them. But having a repeatable, consistent sound is really important.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. And I would say that I 100% agree. It's very similar to kind of the way I would approach, shooting video. Like, for example, I have conversations all the time with people on Zoom because I work from home. I don't have a lot of people come to my house to meet with me in the spare bedroom, which is my office. And so a lot of my meetings I take on Zoom. And this is what my office looks like on Zoom, right? If you're watching the live stream, and if you're not, go check it out. Like I said, we're on Facebook, LinkedIn, YouTube, the platform formerly known as Twitter, and Twitch. So you can check it out in any of those places. But if you look, this is what my office looks like on Zoom. And the reason my office looks like this on Zoom at all times, doesn't matter whether it's the middle of summer at noon or it's 6 o'clock at night on a Sunday in the dead of winter. My office always looks like this on Zoom. And the reason is because I've controlled all the variables and it's always the same. The setup is always the same. I have a light blocking curtain that I close. I use all the same lights every time, et cetera, et cetera. So making a situation repeatable and structured is really important whenever it comes to filming or recording something. Eliminating variables is something that professional sound recordists and directors of photography both share and appreciate. So that definitely resonates with me, Sean.
Yeah, and I have that too. I got blackout curtains. I got my lights dialed in at 5600K. I got the cameras locked in. I do the same thing for my calls. And I most people on my Zoom calls, they're like, "Why do you sound so like it's overkill on the Zoom calls?" Just for consistency.
Yep. And for me, it's because I own a production company, right? So I always want to show up on Zoom looking like I know how to make somebody look good or sound good on video. Because if I can't do it for myself, why would anybody believe that I could do it for them? So I think it's just good business practice for me.
Yeah, absolutely.
What do you think, Dom? Is that why you always show up on Zoom looking as dapper as you do?
I try to be me. I try to show up. Somebody said sometimes they'll be like, "Hey, you look exactly like your picture." Yeah, I do. But if we were going to go into writing, let's just go writing. I think, and I don't do much writing anymore, but I'm into screenplays and stuff like that, because I always felt like maybe my authors don't want to see me writing. But when I did My Name is Sharon, about my mom and her battle with Alzheimer's, it has to look a certain way. It has to, the formatting, I believe, has to be so soft, and you have to, every detail of those 100 and some pages, and whether it's hardback or the picture on the front, or I think, to just like Tom's saying, if I can't show you that I can write and present a book in a certain way, well, why would you use me as your publisher? So 100%, man, 100%. And the reason why I show up, and I spent a lot of years in sales. I like people to know, like if you're looking at my background or something like this, I like people to know that I don't have two heads. I like people to know exactly who I am, things that I'm interested in. I want to give people a safe place that if they want to talk about Goodfellas or Muhammad Ali, or they see books behind me, you are looking at what you see behind me is full disclosure of who I am as a person, from the Terrible Tao to my love of Muhammad Ali or whatever book. So that's me. And speaking of which, Tom, I think it's time for show and tell. You good with show and tell?
Yeah, man, bring it on. Let's see what you got.
Okay, let's go. Okay. So I'm a fan of Shawshank Redemption, big fan. I think it's a perfectly written movie. I could watch it every time it's on. So I wonder, so there's a part, I'm sure most of you have seen it. Have you seen Shawshank Redemption, Tom? Yeah, okay. Everybody shook their head. So
Absolutely. I
have a postcard here my sister got me from Say What Teneo. That's where Andy Dufresne goes, once. I wonder if anybody here can tell me Say What Teneo, what the first letter of Say What Teneo is. And you can put it down in the comments too. You can ask out loud. You can answer. Go on. Tom, you want to answer? No looking it up.
All right, I swear I didn't look it up, but is it X?
No, you're wrong. Okay. Let's see. I'm looking down here in the comments. P. No, it is not P. Okay. Anybody else? What do you got? Carrie, come on up. I'm trying to get Carrie up here. Carrie, come on. Does she have an answer? Invite to speak. Okay. So
Z.
Z. Mr. Brian P. Swift is right, coming in hot with a Z. So here is the postcard of Say What Teneo that my sister got me. So here she travels all around the world. She goes all the times by herself, and then on the back of it, you'll see this is what she wrote to me. Red, you know where I'll be, Andy. So that was her message on the back. Say What Teneo with a Z, Brian wins. Okay, what do you think, Tom?
I like it. I mean, it is a great movie. Like there are a bunch of very sort of iconic scenes in that film. I think one of which that I've seen, memed and gifted so many times is that picture of Andy Dufresne in the rain after he crawls out of the sewer pipe with his arms spread, looking up as the lightning illuminates him. But yeah, I mean, great film, like really, really well acted, well directed, well written. And I love the sort of how they unravel the story towards the end. But yeah, it's I think it's a great movie. I like it. I think that's a cool postcard. That is definitely a cool postcard for sure.
There we go. Yep. Red, you know where I'll be, Andy. Okay. Okay, Carrie Brett, invite. She knew how to spell. I wonder if she actually did know how to spell. I'm inviting you up, but let's see. I don't know what's going on, Carrie. See if you can pull Carrie up. She's got something to say. You know what else I like as a motivational guy from that movie is at one point they say, hope is a good thing and no good thing ever dies. And that's something that whether it's loss or setback, I just think about that idea of no good thing ever dies. So, Carrie, what do you want to add? You knew how to spell that too. So, very interested.
Okay, so I knew how to spell it because Zewataneo is in my book. Because I make a reference that I basically self-imprison myself like Brooks in these relationships and my poor choices. So I actually say that I'm digging myself out like Andy Dufresne because sometimes you got to crawl through some sewer pipes to get where you need to be. So I use that reference in my book in chapter 8. That's why I knew how to spell it. Isn't that cool?
It is cool, and I like your reference to Brooks too. Brooks was here. Sometimes when I see people self-imprisoned, I'll say, me and my wife will be talking, and I'll say, he's Brooks. It's clear as day, he's free, but he doesn't want that. So go on, Carrie.
Yeah, I was like the person who fell in love with their captor.
Oh man. Hey, Carrie, do you want to, since we got you up here, photography, is there something that we are doing? So let's say the majority of us, we're using our photos for Instagram, Facebook, that kind of thing, social media, because it's easiest for us to put content up. Is there something us novices are doing that we could easily change that would make you sleep better at night?
Well, I have to say, I know a lot about posing and how to be in front of the camera. And I've actually spent a lot of time with my friend Christine Handy, who's a model, because they're filming a movie about her life here in Boston. And I watch what she does when you're photographed. And she really leans into her personality. Like I lean into my personality when I podcast. And if you can forget about how you think it's going to look, because people really tense up, myself included. And she has like, because she's got it down. I just watch how we are together, and she's full of life when she's in front of the camera, and I am not. So I've been learning by watching her. And it's kind of interesting because I'm seeing where I'm lacking within myself. And I never really paid attention to how I was in front of the camera because my whole career is just making other people feel comfortable. So I think what I always did was make people feel comfortable so they would loosen up, drop that facade, drop that, representative that they bring, because we all do it. And once you can do that and just like have some fun and not care and have some confidence or find some confidence or borrow some confidence, your images are going to come out better. They are. So that would be my.
I like that idea of leaning into who you are. This is dumb, but since we're on anytime, like when I'm trying to do pictures or when I'm doing video or we're out recording bikes and hikes, sometimes when I want to get into it, I drink a healthy portion of Diet Mountain Dew to give me energy, but I'll sit there and I'll be like this, like making like noises with my mouth before I get ready to record. I'm like, blah, 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 and I just am making myself smile. It's the dumbest, like, I'm just like really making weird noises with my mouth, and and then I smile a little bit, and I'm a little more ready to go before I jump onto into action. So that's make some noises with your mouth. Smile, do something that makes you smile yourself before you go out and pretend that go out and smile. You actually need to be smiling for real. So go on, Tom's looking at me weird. He doesn't like
No.
it.
I was just going to say, I think like one of the keys to sort of accomplishing or finding that confidence that Carrie was talking about that her friend has when she poses in front of camera, I think one of the keys to finding that is in being relentlessly authentic, right? Which is something we've talked about a lot here, and I talk about all the time with people, right? I mean, it's one of the sort of key directives in my book is to be relentlessly authentic, right? Authenticity matters, and it works. So being authentic, and in that really accepting, not just acknowledging, but actually really accepting that there are going to be some people who don't like you for you. And you have to accept that some people don't like you for you and are okay with, and you have to be okay with that, right? And that's really the key to it. And once you get that level of acceptance and accept that people are not going to like you for you and are okay with it, then all of a sudden you're free to just be you, because you stop worrying about what those few people think who aren't fans of yours, right? In favor of appreciating what you think as for yourself and what your actual fans and friends and family and supporters and people who care about you think, right? Because those are the ones who matter, right? Not the few detractors, but the many supporters, right? So stop. The key is to stop listening, stop worrying about, and accepting that there are always going to be a few detractors, and instead embracing the many supporters, right? And that is really what enables you to be sort of comfortable and confident and calm and present well in front of camera. But I think that's the secret sauce, and that's the thing that's so hard for so many people to do. Even once you realize that that's the key, right? That's really the magic that makes it possible. It's still really difficult for people to do, but that's the secret, right? That's how you do it. Let's go around, I think, real quick, right, Dom? And we'll just get a quick tip from everybody real quick who's left up here with us, and then we'll move into the wrap up. What do you think?
Okay, that's good. Final tip, something we're doing. What do you, John Jay, before you, I know you got to go soon too, John Jay. So final tip, what do you got for us?
The final tip I would give is whoever your consumer is, put them first. Put the topics, the title, whatever it is, first and foremost, what's going to appeal to them, and make you secondary. Make you what you do secondary. If you lead with you, it doesn't work as well. That's the final takeaway I would have. Thank you.
John Jay, thank you. And I can't wait to meet you next week. I think he's going to be about 7 foot tall, Tom. 7 foot tall, jacked. Yeah. So looking forward to it. Go on.
I think that's going to be one of the interesting things is like finding out how tall people actually are, right?
Yeah.
Because most of us have only like either we've talked or we've only seen each other from like the chest up on Zoom calls. We don't actually have any context for like how tall the other person is.
Mm-hmm. Tom is 3 inches big on my screen. Carrie, you got a final tip for us?
So Brian's already told you I'm 9 feet tall. No, I'm 5'8", and I've got to get my plane ticket today, which I have to do. So final tip, I think what John said was really good. And I'm struggling with that myself this morning because I want to put up a post for anniversary of Charlotte Love, and I'm trying to make it like not sound self-serving. But I also want to say that this was a lot of work, and it's a 1%. And I think I should be able to. I want to lead with helping people, which is the point of the show. So when I realized that not everyone's going to listen to my show, that people who needed to find love would listen to my show, read me. So now I have to, because it's like they're just not going to listen, and I don't care. It's not their content. So that's okay. And you got to get used to the fact that your family and your friends, most of them won't listen. So now I'm going to try to use that skill set that I acquired when releasing my book so that I can get away from which is always present. So that would be my tip. So thanks.
Okay, we're going around the room here. Final tips. This is tips that from your industry the rest of us could do. So Brian, we're going to you, Heather, me, then Tom's going to give us the wrap up. What do you got, Brian? P. Swift.
Just continue to be authentic. Don't change to be liked. I agree with Tom. People aren't going to like you just because they don't, and that's okay. The key that I have found to life is liking yourself, but being honest about that, continually growing to make changes, because there's no way you can please everybody. If you want to make everybody happy, go sell ice cream. Outside of that, be authentic. Thanks for this stage, Tom and Dom.
You're the man, Brian. See you in a week. Heather Cox, what do we got here? We want a tip from you, and I listened to your tips. I just did one the other day where I was like, oh, Heather said this. Oh, you know what it was, Heather? I made a reel. And
you add me as a collaborator.
Yes, I did. And I did that only because
I ignored it and I declined it, but you did a good job.
Yeah, that's perfectly fine. But I wonder, so I'm still trying to figure out where that goes. Like, so I sent one to other pages that I run so I could be a collaborator, but I don't see it on that page. But anyway, it was a tip from you. Why not try it? So we are asking today, we talked about tips, pet peeves, something in your industry people are doing that maybe the layman's, like maybe we are doing it and we don't know we're doing it. It's waste time, it's silly, whatever it is. You got something for us? And you're helping us by sharing, hey, you're hashtagging.
Okay, well, I got two then.
Okay, go on.
And this is appropriate for Valentine's Day coming up. The hashtag Valentine's Day on Instagram is banned. That is a banned hashtag. So if you have your marketing campaign for like a Valentine's Day dinner and you put hashtag Valentine's Day in your post, that post will be hidden because Instagram shadow bans that hashtag essentially. And how you know this, you go to the search bar on your Instagram, the little search area, right? You go to, then it's that little magnifying glass. Then you go to the top and you write in hashtag Valentine's Day, then hit enter. When you do that, like 5 different tabs come up. And one of those tabs is the tags tab. You click that, then it'll give you all those drop downs of hashtag Valentine's Day, hashtag Valentine's Day 2023, hashtag Valentine's Day 2024. It'll give you all those options. If you click the top hashtag Valentine's Day one, it literally says at the top that this hashtag may be hidden when posted because a lot of the posts go against the community guidelines that people use hashtag Valentine's Day, like boudoir sessions and just maybe a lot of naked things. So yeah, don't use that. But then also like stop taking advice from quote unquote social media gurus on TikTok. I can't. If I see one more person say, get on live and go viral and you'll make $10,000 this month, I'm gonna throw up. So please, everybody, stop taking this bullshit advice from these quote unquote social media gurus that literally have been on TikTok for 6 months, who have no idea what they're talking about and are basically messing up everybody's feeds. So just please stop. Thank you.
Heather, glad you came. She's full of fire today. That's what we needed. All right, Billy, we're doing final tips.
Hold on, Dom. Before you go to Billy, I
Go
just
on.
wanted to tack on to something Heather just said, because her saying like don't listen to these people on TikTok who are saying do this one thing and you're going to make 10 grand next month. Really really kind of resonated, because I saw there was a video going around. It got a lot of traction on TikTok, probably did on other platforms too, and in Reels, probably on Instagram and Facebook as well. Of somebody doing like a breakdown of buying a container ship and how you could basically make like $50 million in profit off of like one transit with that ship loaded. And it was funny because the math like just clearly didn't add up on first blush. But if you don't really pay attention, then you could easily believe what they're saying. But I saw somebody did a video of it and they were like, this drives me nuts. There were like, I forgot what, like 28 million views or something on TikTok of this video. And it was complete nonsense. The math didn't make any sense. Like if you actually do the math, which this guy did in his sort of takedown of that video, it turned out that they were off like in their estimation of the revenue brought in by one transit of that ship by like a factor of 100. So it wasn't even close. Like the gross revenues could have been maybe in the neighborhood of a couple $100 million, not in the neighborhood of 3 billion, like they said in the video. So they were off by like over a factor of 100. So I think to Heather's point, right? Like whenever somebody makes some promise or makes a claim on online and it seems too good to be true, like why aren't more companies buying container ships and starting businesses with container ships if it's so easy to buy a container ship and make $50 million in profit the first time you load it up and sail it across the ocean? Like, because that's not how it works, right? So like believe the old adage, if it seems too good to be true, it probably is. Right. And don't trust when somebody over promises and makes promises that like all you have to do is do this one simple secret that nobody knows about. Meanwhile, the video has millions of views. Do this one super easy secret that nobody knows about and you'll make thousands of dollars every month. Like it's not true. If it was true, people would be doing it and you would hear a lot about it everywhere. You wouldn't just happen across it with one video on TikTok. Right. So don't believe everything you hear. If it seems too good to be true, it probably is. So I just wanted to share that. And if you want to laugh, look up that video of the container ship on TikTok. It's ridiculous how bad the math is. Anyway, go ahead, Dom. What do you think?
You're spot on, man. And I'll give you a quick tip, and then or whatever. For me, it is, and then we'll go to Billy. But for me, it's do the reps. Enjoy the reps, love the reps, embrace the reps. So many people think there's an easy button. There's not an easy button. There's not a fast pass. Do the reps. and then just appreciate that journey. But it's all about those reps. Billy, we're going to give us a tip from your industry, and then we're going to Tom for a wrap up. What do you got? A tip, Billy, something that is kind of a pet peeve that you see others doing, that if we're doing it, we could make a quick adjustment so that we don't look foolish. What do you got for us?
Well, first of all, I'd say don't knock it till you try it. Go buy that container, baby. See if you can make 50 million. No, I'm just kidding. Man, I don't know, dude. I think it's the same. It's like shut up and show up. It's my new philosophy. Like, I have a lot of people in my DMs reaching out, asking for help. I give my time, I give my energy, I give my resources, and they are lazy. So if you want it, go get it. No one's going to do it for you. Like you said, there's no easy button. And I'm going to go buy a container ship right freaking now for $5,000 and make 50 million on it. I'll report back.
We should all
Billy,
chip in. That's good. Go on.
Billy, you want to front the 300 million? Let's go buy one right now, because that's all they cost. They only cost 300 million. That's the barrier.
Through that, oh, okay. Through that program, I saw one for like 2,500 on the side of the street here in my hometown.
Yeah, I mean,
so
I think that one needs a new transmission, or the check engine light's on, maybe. But
that is too funny, man. Yeah, I mean, everybody's gonna sell some snake oil every now and again. It's so funny. I can't. Well, you know what? And some stuff is easy. Like, if people ask me about my business, it is easy. But I've spent 17 years creating this types of content for other people, for myself. I've been an entrepreneur for a long time, and it is easy. But it's not easy for everybody. So I'm sure there is a guy out there who can go make $50 million a year shipping other people's shit across the world on a boat. But it's not going to be the guy who just woke up, wiped the sleep out of his eye, who just graduated college and has no life experience. So I think it's all in perspective is pretty healthy.
100%. I think, and the other question I would say too then, Billy, is like, is it easy? Is what you do easy, or is it straightforward to you because of your experience, right? Like, does it make sense to you because of your experience? So like because of that, it sounds easy, but you still have to put in the work, right? It's not like you get up and you just go, you roll over and you're like, oh, I guess I'm going to do some work today. And 3 minutes later you're done because it's so easy, right? Like, it's not, you still got to do the work.
It's a couple hours, but yeah, but no, that's the thing. And that's what you guys are saying. It's like, we're all saying the same thing. Like, go put in the reps, do the work, learn the skill set, and keep showing up. And it's like, it's not complicated. I don't think anything in the world is ever complicated. Like, I used to think, like, you have to have all this stuff and be all, all these degrees and be all this and that and whatever. And some of the dumbest people I know on planet Earth make the most amount of money because they just keep showing up. And they keep doing the work, keep putting in the reps, keep getting the results, and rinsing and repeating. So I think it's all compound interest, right? It's like, learn something this year, it'll compound to next year. And every job, 9 to 5, 1099 gig, W2 gig, whatever I've ever had, I've learned some type of skill set that now serves me long term to be able to run a successful company. In the success in the terms of what I labeled as success.
Right. Because it's all relative, right? And I think that's sort of the crux too, is like when you're talking about compounded, thinking about it in terms of like compounded interest, right? It's like what's easy to me is not necessarily easy to somebody else, right? And vice versa. There are things that are easy to other people that are not easy for me, right? So yeah, I totally agree with you. I think, Dom, what do you say? Are we ready? Should I put a bow on it?
Yeah, put a bow on it, man. We're not going to see everybody next week, so they're going to miss us for a week. Put a bow on this, though, Tom.
Yeah, that's right. So we're not going to be here next week because Dom's going to be busy giving me a tour of Pittsburgh, and we're going to have a cigar back at his place, and enjoy actually getting to hang out in person for the first time ever, which will be cool. So we're not going to be here next week, but we're going to be on our way to Creative Con and hope to see some of you guys there. And then after that, we'll be back the following week. So we're taking a week off. Really sorry to disappoint you guys, but I think you'll be okay. Anyway, to wrap up today, I wanted to share a little story with you guys. talk about somebody I know who's really kind of inspirational to me, and it sort of brings back around sort of my sort of pet peeve and my complaint from earlier, which was really about people in the communications industry failing to put the audience first, right? Which is something that I think our friend John Wiley would 100% agree with me on, that you have to put the audience first because it's about them. It's not about you. So I'll share a little story about somebody doing just that and how it turned out for them. So I've been fortunate over the last couple of years to become friends with somebody named Geraldine Laybourne. Most of you probably don't know who she is, but if you are an American, if you grew up in the U.S., and if you grew up in the 80s or had kids in the 80s, you are definitely familiar with her work because in 1980 she started working for a small startup cable channel called Nickelodeon, which you guys probably heard of. But at the time when she started working for Nickelodeon in 1980, they were losing money and looked kind of destined for cancellation. Nobody really thought that they were going to see long-term success or viability. But then they were still around 4 years later, and Jerry became the VP in charge of programming at Nickelodeon, and she started making some changes. She had a background in early childhood education, and obviously Nickelodeon was focused on children's programming. And so what she did was she shifted their approach to really put their audience first, because prior to that, they had really been putting their advertisers first. And it was obviously not attracting a growing audience. And so they embarked on a mission to, and this is how Jerry put it, to connect with kids, to connect kids with their world and each other through entertainment. And as Jerry likes to say, that's an awesome mission statement because it's all about the audience. And here's the results. When Jerry took over or became the VP of programming in 1984, Nickelodeon was about $40 million in the hole, right? They were $40 million in the red. And 16 years later, when Jerry left Nickelodeon, they had a valuation of $10 billion with a B dollars, billion, $10 billion. And they were the number one cable network on television. Not the number one children's network on television, the number one cable network on television, period, end of story. And if you ask Jerry how they did that, what she credits that success to, she will tell you over and over and over again that it is all because they put their audience first, because they recognize it's not about you, it's about them, right? They made sure that they made programming for kids, that kids wanted and kids needed, and that is what led to their ultimate success. So that's what I want to leave everybody with today, is just remember that whatever you do, however you're communicating with your community or with your audience, remember that it's about them. It's not about you, right? Put them first. And you will ultimately over or long term, you'll see success as a result of that. So that's all I got for today. Thanks very much, everybody, for being here with us. We appreciate you. We love you. And we will see you in 2 weeks at 9:30 a.m. here, and Not the Smartest Guys in the Room. For Dom, I'm Tom. Until then, take care. Bye-bye. Have a great couple of weeks. We love you. We'll see you soon.